as an example, so Apple, the company that makes iPhones, their production has been in China. They've now announced they're moving to the United States. But interestingly, at the end of December, you may not have noticed that Foxconn, which is the largest Chinese employer, in fact, the Chinese assembler of Apple products like iPads, iPhones, but they also assemble for Dell and other computer companies. They have just announced that they are building their first production facility in the United States in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. This is interesting. Now, why have they done this? Why do we see a company that makes yarn, as in knitting sweaters? The biggest Chinese manufacturer of yarn has just announced they're building their first production facility in the United States. So what is driving this? It is partly that the costs in emerging markets are rising to such an extent that the wage differential has narrowed. And let's face it, in the indebted countries, everybody is tightening their belt, rationalizing their behavior, and willing to work much harder at a lower price. So the restoration of competitiveness in the industrialized world is also being matched by the loss of that competitiveness in the emerging markets. That's part of the story. Part of the story is the famous energy price differential, which is massive. And the US and parts of Europe are able to provide energy in a way that most emerging markets can't. That's part of the story. Part of the story is a high oil price, which means the transportation costs are too great. The time it takes to move product from A to B is too expensive if your margin is being crushed by debt on one side and inflation pressing up on the other side. So in order to diminish these pressures, we start to see what most people call onshoring or reshoring. I'm not so sure these are great words. I think it's more best shoring. In other words, everybody's going to the best location for what it is they need to do. And that usually means being closer to your customers and being able to have a higher quality control for those customers. So I am not saying that business is no longer moving into the emerging markets, because it is. And I'm not saying that the emerging market businesses are leaving the emerging markets and going to the industrialized West. What they're doing is globalizing, which is a great thing. So when companies like Foxconn, like the Cure Group that makes yarn, when they start to build outside of China, this is the beginning of a huge new period in China's history, where their companies begin to understand how to do value added. And let's face it, you cannot raise national incomes in a poor country if you're producing really, really cheap stuff. You have to do value added in order to get up the income curve. This also begins to affect their interest in acquiring assets outside of their own country.